Pardon me while I have a strange interlude.
There is nothing else. Life is an obscure hobo bumming a ride on the omnibus of art.
Along the misty corridors of time, and in those corridors I see figures, strange figures.
Welcome back to the AP Strange Show. Tonight's episode is brought to you by the Sobcast. Ever feel like you just want to break down crying at work and it's just really awkward, or you're at the grocery store and you want to scream into the void, but you don't want to get arrested or put into the nut house? Well, the Sobcast is here for you. You can just listen to an hour episode, 2-hour episode, or even the shorter half-hour episodes of straight weeping, sobbing, and wailing, so that you can express your horror at the abject, the awfulness of reality, vicariously through the Sobcast. So check them out on your podcast players, and get rid of those inner demons. Tonight on the show, I have a super guest. He is an actor, a comedian, a wonderful Fortean, a true weirdo, and a friend of mine, friend of yours. He's everybody's friend, human ray of sunshine, and host of the High Strangeness podcast, Steve Berg. What's up, Steve?
Hello, my friend. Thank you for having me on. It's great to be here. I needed this. I needed a distraction. Yeah.
We're recording this on November 7th, which is my dog's
November
birthday.
6th. Oh,
it is the 6th. Yes, November 6th.
Was that? Were you trying to play it off as the 7th, AP?
No, I was not. I just don't know what day it is, because today has felt like it was 10 years long.
Yeah, long day.
So it's my dog's birthday and the day after Election Day.
Oh, happy birthday, pup.
Yep.
Is your dog's name Bernie?
Yes.
That's great. Yep. Oh, happy birthday, Bernie.
Yep. So the rest of you listening to this now can send your regards back a couple weeks in time to my dog on his birthday. But just know that Steve and I have been through it today, and we're going to try our best.
Oh, we're going to fight through.
Yeah. Or to discuss for our third time's a charm episode today, the third in the series of Christopher Reeve Superman films, Superman 3, which is an apt title for it.
So good. I'm well, I mean, I'll wait until you get into it, but yes, I'm very happy to be discussing this movie.
I bet. I was really when you brought it up, I thought about it. I'm like, Superman 3. Like, I really hadn't watched. Well, aside from the first movie, I feel like I hadn't really watched any of them for years. But the first one, occasionally it'd be on TV or something.
Right.
Right. And I got the second and third confused. I'm like, which one is that? Is that the one with General Zod and
you revealed yourself when you said that. I was like, oh my God, AP, we have so much to talk about. Well, do you know them all? But do you know that 1 and 2 are essentially the same movie? Like, Richard Donner, who did the first one, like a lot of the scenes are from. It was supposed to be one long movie, like Superman 1 and 2, where Zod and his little crew, his little family comes together, and then they were supposed to be the big bad in Superman 1, but they just found it was too long. But so it's interesting. You can watch those as one movie. Now they had to do a lot of additional shooting to fill it out to make it a sequel. But that's a little piece of trivia for you.
Yeah, and Donner kind of got booted out of it for the second one, right?
Like, he just didn't want to do it. He was not. His career was on the rise. He's like, a sequel? What? No thanks. I'm out.
Yeah, I guess so. Because then they had to reshoot a lot of the stuff they had already shot because the director wouldn't get credit otherwise, is what I read. about it.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, from what I understand, just according to Richard Donner, is that they used like the premise. I mean, the premise of the entire movie was like part of Superman 1 originally, and that he had done a lot of the principal photography
Right.
for it, but they had to, fill it in, and you can see where it looks different. I mean, like Richard Donner is a very good filmmaker, and his
Yeah, he
movies
is.
look good. There's definitely like a drop off in visual, like the aesthetic is different in those movies, and you can tell where the additional photography was done, I think.
Right. Well, with the first movie, you'll believe a man can fly, and by the third one, you're not so sure.
No, the wire got the budget for the wires got a little. It was definitely diminished.
But yeah, I mean, then you're like, no, it's the one with Richard Pryor, and I was like, oh yeah, the one with
Yeah.
Richard Pryor.
Yeah. Well, you're laughing, and a lot of people laugh, but like I'm here to tell you, I legitimately like this. Not like I'm not saying like trying to be a hipster by saying I like a bad movie, but like this, I've always loved it. Like I've seen it many times, not because I don't like it, but it's because I love it.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like this one got a lot of play on TV or something as
A ton, a ton.
yeah, because I know I saw it a bunch of times when I was
Right,
younger,
right.
but I hadn't seen it since like probably I was a teenager.
It
So.
well, it was a cheap title to buy because it was not a successful film.
Right,
So the worse the movie does, the more they'll show it because it's cheaper to run. So
right, yeah, yeah. So it was like one of those channels was always running it every weekend or something.
it was on so much.
Yeah. Um, well, I was going to ask you starting out here.
Mhm.
I know you're a big comic book guy in general too.
Not really. I mean, like I did collect comics, but
Yeah.
and I was like when I was a kid, but that fell off probably like after I was like 12.
Okay.
And I never really loved DC stuff. I kind of like read some X-Men, some like weirdo things, but like, yeah, well, I mean, like I wouldn't say big, but I was a comic book fan.
Okay. Yeah. So that was going to be my question: was did you lean more Marvel or DC? And
Marvel
then,
for sure. I had no interest. Like I remember buying some Batman stuff when I was a kid. Like I think when the Tim Burton film came out, and I just like didn't. He didn't have any superpowers, so he didn't wow me enough.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I kind of like the mutant powers. I loved Avengers. I love the comic book called Alpha Flight. I thought that was great.
Oh, the Canadian X-Men,
Yeah, it was like Canadian X-Men. I thought it was great. I thought it was
and
so
they had a
good.
Sasquatch.
Yeah, I think they did have like they'd have a Sasquatch buddy, didn't they? Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't. It's been I mean, fucking. Oop, excuse me. Pardon my language. It's been a long time since I've read it.
Oh, you're allowed to swear. Don't
Ooh,
worry about it.
yeah. Okay. PG-13 already off the bat.
Yep. We're in rare form today.
Yeah,
Talking
man.
about Superman and cussing.
Hell yeah. Let's do it.
Okay, well, the other thing I was going to ask you is if you feel like you might have had a connection, maybe specifically to this one, due to Superman's hometown of Smallville. Because to
Uh,
me, watching these movies, like Smallville was a Midwestern kind of
yeah,
setting
yeah,
that was like a mythical place to me because I can't
yeah.
picture that. I live in New England, I always have. But
Right.
for you, growing up in Nebraska, I imagine it was probably a lot closer to home.
Most definitely. I mean, I'm from Omaha, which is like a city, so I didn't like grow up in a small town, but I had like, grandparents who lived in a small town in Kansas, and I'm driving in, and nowadays I'm always in rural Nebraska because that's where all the good high strangeness stuff happens. Like
Yeah.
I'm there a lot. But it does have that vibe, especially in the 80s, like where I think small town America had not really there were still jobs available, and
Hmm.
they just they were thriving more, like now it's kind of sad when I go to small towns now in the Midwest. It's like they're hurting, man. There's just no no
Yeah.
jobs available for anyone. So yeah, that I think it did like Superman really does typify that kind of wholesome Midwest, wide shoulders, help your neighbor out, bring a covered dish to the picnic, that type of
Yeah.
like vibe. And it is that's a warm vibe. It's like a nice Afghan blanket that a granny would knit for you.
Right. No, I agree. There's something very cozy about the 80s Superman movies. And
Mhm.
I think in the world that we have today, and I think in culture broadly, especially, there was kind of a turn at some point where all the superheroes became a little bit darker. And you see this with Superman when they kind of remade Superman and they brought back the whole Zod story. Like that was a
Yeah.
pretty dark movie, you know. Jonathan Kent dies in it, and then Superman ends up having to kill Zod to stop him.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like half of Metropolis gets knocked down during their fight.
Is that the one with Michael Shannon?
Yeah, I think so.
I think I saw that. I can't remember. I don't watch many comic book movies anymore, but I think I did see that one. Can't remember what I thought of it though.
Yeah, I mean, I just felt like it was unnecessarily grim, you know,
Right.
because I think people find it just hokey to have the old-fashioned kind of Superman stuff.
Right.
And it is, but there's really nothing wrong with that.
No, I think, I mean, it would be amazing if they did do like an homage to like the Christopher Reeve Superman nowadays.
Yeah.
Where it was like a little more golly shucks.
Yeah. I think it might play well. I
think it might be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think you saw. Did you watch any of the WandaVision series that was on?
I did. I had a good friend who wrote a couple episodes, so I watched for that reason.
Okay.
It's the only Marvel TV show I've ever seen a second of.
Yeah, and I mean that was fun because they kind of did that. They worked that into it, kind of like a hokey old sitcom vibe, and it was.
Yeah.
I think people really dug that. You know.
I surprisingly really enjoyed that. I think kind of because it wasn't like a straight up like superhero show. Maybe it had like this kind of sitcom-y, like angle on the whole thing, which I thought was fun. So
yeah, it's got like, kind of mind bending in a way too, because the whole time you're going like, what is actually going on?
Right, it was really trippy, dude. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think maybe a return to that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, you know.
Yeah, if they feel the need to actually remake something that's being made, in my opinion, enough. I'm all about new characters and new stories, my friend. So like I don't need anything remade ever. But if but they will remake Superman, and if they do, I think your move of trying to make it a throwback would be very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you know what would be cool is there was that graphic novel that was kind of like a history of the DC superheroes. Was it like New Frontiers? I think it was called.
Oh no!
It just kind of like goes into all their origin stories, but tells it as like a big long epic, you know.
Oh, that's cool.
And like if they did something like that, they could do a movie of that. I mean, they've done animated versions of it, but
right.
But yeah, I mean, something like that might play well. I don't know. But one thing that struck me immediately watching this movie is like how good.
And we're talking about Superman 3, right? We've told them that? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
In case I didn't say it,
I can't remember. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if maybe I just didn't hear it. But like it was Superman 3, babe.
Yes, I blew right past it. But yeah, Superman 3, the third. What I said was the third of the Christopher Reeves of Superman movies, titled Superman 3, aptly titled.
Aptly titled.
Short and sweet.
Yeah, perfect.
But what struck me right away that is something I feel like I easily forget is how good Christopher Reeve was.
Great actor.
Yeah, I mean,
great
but
actor.
for that role, just perfect. Like,
yeah,
I think he does Clark Kent as like a goofy, kind of clumsy guy, really well, and then can convincingly transform into Superman. You know.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, like I am a massive Christopher Reeve fan. And in terms of he is my favorite actor to ever play a superhero. Period. 100%, no doubt. I think he kills it. Like, I think you could potentially look at what he's doing and go like, oh my God, he's so cheesy. But he is playing some serious nuances, like in terms of like his approach to like the character of Clark Kent and the character of Superman. They're very similar. So it's not this distinct difference where he's like, oh, he takes off the mask and he acts so different when he's Superman. So there's like this, it feels very congruent to me, like his performance. But like, I don't know. I can't say. I mean, I could go all day. I just think what a handsome guy, seemed like such a good guy, and he was a good guy in real life, and that says something too. That no matter what, an actor's gonna bring part of their own psyche to every role, and you could just tell.
Yeah.
Like Christopher Reeve, like dude was just like had a really good heart. He was a good person, man. And so what a perfectly cast for that part.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that like the joke with Superman all the time is that like Clark Kent takes off his glasses and all of a sudden people are
Yeah.
like, "Wait, who are you?" And they don't
Yeah.
recognize him.
It's amazing.
But that they do. I mean, I suppose that it's not just Reeve; it's the production and everything, and the way it's directed. But yeah, he does transform. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, like I wouldn't recognize him. His hair's totally different. He's flying
Yeah.
around, wearing
Yeah.
different clothes.
He's got a wool suit on. Yeah, come on.
Okay, so here's my question for you: what happens to that wool suit? Does that just sit in the phone booth the whole time, waiting to be found by somebody?
Well, my thought on that, I thought about that a lot too. I think it just dematerializes.
Okay.
Like I think that suit's just part of the super spectrum. So it's just like, it might smell, the phone booth might smell kind of sulfury after that because of the suit. Because I think when things materialize and dematerialize, they probably leave an odor in the Superman world. So
Right.
I think or he is just blowing his like small paycheck at the Metropolitan newspaper or Metropolis newspaper on
Yeah.
wool suits, and his budget on
The
suits
Daily
is like,
Bugle.
yeah, the Daily Bugle, like
The Daily Planet, rather.
the Daily
Daily
Planet,
Planet.
yeah. What's the Daily Bugle from? That's from
I
something
think
else.
Spider-Man.
Is that okay?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, I want to say something, and we can get into this. I don't want to steer the ship. This is
No,
but
no.
I do want to say I think what's interesting about Superman 3, it makes it unique, is that I believe personally this is Richard Pryor's character's story.
It really is. It's more about Richard Pryor.
It is more about Richard Pryor.
Gus Gorman is the
Gus,
character he's playing.
God, what a great name, dude! He's so good in this movie. I like it, and he's like, I mean, I don't remember, and I'll probably be wrong about this, but was he the first like computer genius, like hacker wizard ever depicted in a film? Probably
Hmm.
not, but like, I think he did it better than anyone. I mean, War Games probably came out around the same time, so I doubt it. But like, one of the first, and also the funniest, the best.
Yeah, and it's really funny because he basically takes like one computing class
Mm-hmm.
and he's like a savant or
Yeah,
something, and he just
yeah.
knows how to speak computer.
He's
Uh,
so good at it. He's so good at it.
It isn't really explained how he gets so good at it, though. I mean, he
No.
really signs up for a course because he's unemployed, and
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, he's just great. He's the best.
yeah. So I think this was 1983 that this one came out.
Was it really? Wow.
Yeah. So I'm not really sure. I don't can't think of any other computer hacker
Yeah. We're,
wizard
cha-
characters.
we're chasing the archetype that Pryor laid down for us, man, because that is definitely
Yeah,
an archetype.
yeah, I would say so. And
Yeah.
it's kind of funny because if you were drawing from the comic books, you would think this would be a lead up to something like Brainiac. You
Yep.
know,
No.
no, because we had Lex Luthor as the villain in the first one,
Yeah.
and he returns in the second one alongside Zod and Zod's lieutenants.
Yep.
Um, and then in the third one we got Gus Gorman, the computer hacker, played by Richard Pryor.
Yeah. Yeah. And we got kind of like the evil, like brother sister duo, which
Evil rich people. Yeah.
yeah, the evil rich people was common trope. But like obviously my guess is that either Hackman said no or they couldn't afford Hackman on the third one. You
Right.
know?
They're like, well, there's got to be other evil rich people in
Yeah.
Metropolis. They're like the B-list Luthors.
Yeah, they really are. They really are.
So yeah, kind of a funny choice.
Yeah.
But uh I have to say the main villain, the main adversary of Superman in Metropolis is the accident-pronedness of the citizens of Metropolis.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is something I totally forgot about in these movies too, where
Yeah.
it's just absolute chaos on the streets all the time because
No one's paying attention to what they're doing. They're falling down like little manholes. I mean, yeah, it's
right, the blind man's dog runs off, and
oh, what a mess.
the guy peddling electronic penguins
Yeah.
gets his table knocked over and has to chase him around. And
And you would think for denizens of a large city like Metropolis, they'd have more street smarts.
you'd think so,
You
but
know?
they have almost no situational awareness.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Soup's always had his hands full just from everybody almost killing themselves constantly.
Yeah, in a city of dipshits, you're gonna be busy, man.
I mean, even Richard Pryor at some point. There's a ski slope on the roof.
Oh, I love that scene. I love that scene, by the way. Please go on. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Superman doesn't even have to save him. Like miraculously, he goes over the edge of the roof and
Yeah.
slides down a slanted part of the building and lands in the middle of the street unharmed.
Yeah, they have no safety codes there either. Like, I mean, he just
Right.
built a ski slope on the penthouse. I mean, that's just not realistic, man.
I'm starting to not believe this whole Superman.
I'm thinking the scenario here. It's a pretty big stretch. You're asking the audience to suspend a lot of disbelief here.
Right. So I made a note here as well that this was a very busy time for Richard Pryor.
Mm-hmm.
He must have been constantly filming movies because I looked at his filmography from the 80s. I'm like,
geez. Dude, he was ranking, newly sober. I'll tell you what, like one of my favorite movies as a kid. It's kind of a problematic movie when you watch it nowadays, or I mean, it is, but it was called The Toy. Did you ever see The Toy? Another Richard Donner film, right? So Richard Donner obviously maybe had a hand in getting on this because Donner stayed on as executive producer of the Superman films. But I was such a massive The Toy was my favorite movie. I was very little. I couldn't believe how great it was. And this came out.
Jackie Gleason in that.
Jackie Gleason, Scotty Schwartz. Yeah, great. The rich kid buys a man to bring home to play with him.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any friends. Great little movie.
Right.
But I was such a big Richard Pryor fan, so when this came out, I was like predisposed to loving it. I remember when I was like, I love Superman. I was a huge Superman fan, and then having Pryor in it, I was like, oh my god, this is like a dream come true. It's like my two favorite things colliding.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's hard to not love Pryor.
It's great.
I grew up also watching all the ones he did with Gene Wilder.
Oh yeah, so good. Silver Streak, Stir Crazy. Yeah, so good.
Yeah. So this falls neatly between. Hold on, I made a note here. It falls neatly between when The Toy came out and Brewster's Millions came out.
Oh, I love Brewster's Millions. So good.
But also the last two collaborations with Gene Wilder. It's right in the middle of those two, which is Stir Crazy and Hear No Evil, See No Evil.
Yes.
Yeah.
God, they were great together, man. Stir Crazy is awesome. That is an awesome movie.
Yeah, I think I like Silver Streak the best out of all of them.
Silver Streak is very good.
Although Pryor's role is a lot smaller in that one. He only comes in like halfway through.
It's a great movie, though. I'd probably have to go with Stir Crazy, but it's apples oranges.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they made. I think there's even one more. Were there 4 that they made together? 3 or 4.
Those are the only 3 I can. Stir Crazy, Hear No Evil, See No Evil, Silver Streak. Maybe they did. I can't remember.
Yeah, I feel like there's one more that I'm not thinking of. But anyway, this one is between those last two that they did.
Yeah.
And
so he's in the he's in the pocket, man. He's he's peaking.
He was on a roll.
He was on a roll.
He was. he was a hot commodity when this movie
big
came
time.
out.
Hell yes, he was.
Yeah. So and I mean the movie really is kind of about him, but as I already stated, it kind of doesn't make a lot of sense.
No. No, the script has some problems.
Aside from the fact that he becomes a computer programmer out of nowhere, and then like I don't really get the sense that he's being blackmailed or threatened or even really convinced to work for the villain Webster.
Yeah.
Ross Webster and his sister. It's basically he stole a bunch of money from the guy. Which famously in the plot, whenever there's like a half penny on a payment, it gets kicked out from that payment into like a secret fund.
Absolutely.
Where it just sits in like accounts payable purgatory forever.
Classic maneuver, dude.
Pryor figures out how to get that sent as a expense check to himself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. He's rolling in it.
Yeah. No, I feel like that was referenced in another. Was that Office Space? They referenced that. I feel like it comes up in other movies where
I
they
feel like
reference
that's
this
just
movie
like
and
an
that plot line.
80s, 90s like business maneuver. That feels
Right.
very of a time. But yeah, I feel like I bet there's like 6 movies that did that. It feels
Yeah.
it was used.
It was, yeah, but I think this is the origin of it.
I think
I
so
think,
too.
yeah. um, so I mean, I couldn't really get the sense that he was being blackmailed or threatened or hired in any way. It's just kind of like he's just part of the gang now
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and doing all the work. And
Yeah.
as far as our super villains go, it doesn't seem like they're after world domination or anything like that. The guy just wants to own everything.
Yeah.
It-
Yeah.
so I mean, I don't know.
Classic evil real estate mogul.
Yep, classic evil Metropolis.
This doesn't mirror the real world at all. There's no similarities at all.
Yeah, and uh, AI on the looming large and threatening everything. You know,
Yeah.
that's,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
yep. Rich people. No, I mean, I'm glad this is just a work of fiction here.
Absolutely. This is not real life at all.
Yeah, as we stated, Superman himself is has a bit of a diminished role here,
Mm-hmm.
and the other Superman characters. We only see a little bit of Perry White.
Yeah.
Um, we get some of oh geez, I'm forgetting his name already.
Oh.
The
Mar-
the photographer,
oh, Jimmy
uh,
Olsen?
Jimmy Olsen. Yeah,
Yeah.
he has a
Like
little
a
action scene.
cameo. Yeah. And Margot Kidder, it's like she's in it for a hot second.
Yeah, maybe they couldn't afford her either. Like it's
Well,
really weird.
it seemed like they were rebooting the whole darn thing, and they were really trying to go in a different direction.
Yeah, because well, they bring back Lana Lang, and it's
Yeah.
not the same actress as in the first one.
Yeah.
Um, I was trying to figure out where I remembered her from. This is Annette O'Neill. She was in the TV movie miniseries version of It, Stephen King's It.
Was she?
Yeah,
Yeah. I watched that not too long ago, man. You're so right. She popped up in a couple other things too. She's definitely like one of those character actors in the 80s who she was
yeah,
working.
yeah. I mean, yeah, she's in plenty of things. But yeah, when I was just watching her on screen, I'm like, where do I know her from? I had to
Yeah,
look it
yeah.
up, and I'm like, oh, Stephen King's It. That makes
Yep.
perfect sense. Yep.
Yep. Great movie.
And the guy that plays Perry White was a child actor. Did you know this?
No. And Perry White's the head of the newspaper, right? The cigar
Yeah,
chewing,
he's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, the Great Caesar's Ghost.
Yeah, he's great. God dang. He's so awesome.
He was in like the old Little Rascals Our Gang shorts. Like he was kind of the second wave of Our Gang. Those old
Wow.
yeah,
You can see it. You can see it.
yeah. His name's Jackie Cooper. So
Jackie Cooper.
yep, yep. So
Strong
when I
name.
looked that up, I'm like, oh, we got one of the like original Little Rascals.
Yeah.
Very White.
You're not gonna get that every day.
Yeah.
This is a Dreamcast.
Yeah. Even if some of them aren't in the movie for long.
It doesn't matter. You make an impact.
Yeah. Which okay, so I didn't watch all the movies leading up to this to prepare for the show.
I got him in my
But
head pretty good.
I have seen them, but maybe help me out with this.
Of course.
Did Superman just abandon Lex Luthor at the Fortress of Solitude at the end of the second one?
Yeah.
So he's just left
no,
to
no, no,
die?
no, 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 no. I take it back. No, he takes Otis, so Ned Beatty and Lex Luthor, back to jail.
Oh, they end up back.
He
to jail.
flies them back to the same jail they escaped from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Because I couldn't remember, and I'm like, did he just leave them in the North Pole?
No. I mean, he should have, but yeah, not this version of Superman. He is Mr. Goody Two Shoes.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah.
But not all the way through this movie because because Gus Gorman's computer hacking abilities apparently allow him to use any computer terminal to tap into a satellite, which can apparently do just about anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Include scan space for the elements of kryptonite and analyze it so that they can simulate kryptonite in the laboratory.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I bought it. I mean, it all made sense to me when I saw it.
Well, yeah, and like there was an unknown element, so Richard Pryor just writes in the word tar because he looks at a cigarette pack for whatever ingredient he might be able to fill. So the synthetic tar kryptonite has a weird effect on Superman, which essentially just splits him into two personalities.
Yeah.
This is what happens.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. This is just good science, AP. I'm not sure what you're not understanding here.
So if it were pure kryptonite, it would have killed him.
It would have killed him, but this is like, it was a milder form, but it has some interesting properties. Like you said, it can split his personality.
Right. So, I mean, what you end up with is like the Clark Kent kind of personality and like quote unquote evil Superman.
Bizarro Superman, dude.
He's Bizarro Superman.
I mean, that's how people refer to him. And, like that's not ever stated in the film, but.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Cause I heard him kind of, he's basically just Superman if he was kind of a dick.
Yeah. He's like a dick. And he's the best part is he's dirty.
Yeah,
he's got his like suit is dirty. He's got like a dirty face. He's got like a 5 o'clock shadow. Right. He can flick peanuts at a mirror and bust it.
Yeah.
Remember that scene in the bar? I love that scene so much, dude. Where he is flicking peanuts. That's like how you don't get an Oscar at least nomination after that? Come on. The Academy knows nothing.
Yeah, I mean, well, and then also straightening out the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Jesus, I forgot about that. And the greatest is the guy. See, now talk about having. This is what I love about like even people who don't have any lines in a movie. They can make a scene. The two like Italian gentlemen, the Roman gentlemen who have the Leaning Tower of Pisa like little like ceramics like stand.
Yeah.
How mad he gets, and there's like a callback later when he retilts it.
Yeah, he goes back and fixes everything.
Yeah, I love that. That's just good. That's good, right? That's good. The screenplay writer knew what they were doing.
Yeah, great little comedy relief there. Because you don't even really need to give those guys lines. I don't know if they were speaking Italian or just doing like a faux Italian.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what's going on.
You know what's going on. But I mean, like, by having the choice of them in it elevated that scene. It made it a memorable scene. Like right when you said that, I was like, oh my God, of course. It's great. It's burned into my brain. I love it.
Yeah, so he's a version of Superman that's just kind of a dick.
Well, I mean, I'm not. I think he's just kind of dick, but he's more than that because he is bad news bears, dude. Because as we will see when I don't want to like jump ahead too far. He is like violent and wants to like kill. Like
yeah,
he's not good.
He does kind of tip into the evil part of it.
Yeah,
he ends up fighting himself. This is where I got a little lost.
Right. Right. Yeah. Look, the setup to that, like in the circumstances, that doesn't matter, my friend, because that scene is fucking pure gold. I love it. It scared me, and it is really violent. Like, remember, he's trying to like he puts like Clark Kent into this like conveyor belt.
Yeah.
I mean, that was
like a junkyard or something.
Yeah. It horrified me as a kid. It still scares me when I watch it. I'm like, oh my God, I can barely breathe during the scene.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I mean, Superman is his own worst enemy, I guess.
Yeah. Fighting his shadow self.
Yeah. Which I guess is kind of a callback to the second one, because the whole thing with the second one is that it's about him and Lois.
Yeah.
And like what it takes for them to be together is for him to like abandon the Superman persona, pretty much.
Yep.
Which, yeah. So I mean that's a lot of what that movie's about, and this is kind of a more on the nose version of that, I guess. Where he's basically wrestling with the two halves of his personality.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you still have you still have Gus and the Webbers there trying to do their evil plans.
Yeah.
And yeah, I did like the line with the big bad there, Weber, saying like, I gave you one instruction to kill Superman and you didn't do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not easy. Like that's a big ask, homie.
Right. But it's just kind of funny. He just you know, he only deputized this guy, Richard Pryor, a couple days ago, and
Yeah. You expect the
he's already
world.
tasking him with killing Superman. And
Yeah. Imagine being like on day 2 of the job. So like first day it's orientation, you get the
right.
syllabus, you meet some of your coworkers, have some Danish in the break room, maybe go to a beer at some kind of like dumb strip mall. Day 2, you get to work. They're like, okay, so your job is to kill Superman. I mean, that's come on. It was just a computer hacker.
Yeah. Why don't you just go kill Superman for
Yeah.
me? Thanks.
Jeez.
That'd be great.
God. Yeah. I mean, look, we can all bitch about our jobs, but our jobs ain't that, so.
Now this is kind of funny because I guess Richard Pryor's innate likability is enough to save him, because he's pretty morally ambiguous. He's like
Yeah.
a con artist,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I guess con artists make good computer programmers.
It makes
Is
sense.
my takeaway. This is what I've learned from the movie.
It's the same kind of aptitude,
Yeah. But Superman just lets him go at the end, and
Yeah.
like, yeah, and I mean, to be fair, Richard Pryor does kind of save Superman from
Completely.
the supercomputer that he
Yeah.
designed.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you are just kind of going out of order. I don't want to forget the supercomputer that Gus makes, in this kind of like Fortress of Solitude, like kind of a southwestern area, right, where they're shooting missiles and blah blah blah.
Right.
That scene to me is so good. I love it. First off, I think the computer is wonderful. I love 80s like mega computers.
Right.
I have a real like if you know me for more than 5 minutes, oh yeah, Steve Berg, he loves 80s like mega computers. That's just one of his things. That happens to be my favorite mega computer in cinema history. And let me tell you, of all the scenes I had an older brother and he would like show me Friday 13th when I was like, way too young, like 7 or 8. So I had seen horror movies by this point in my life. However, when I see the scene of the woman who's kind of like, the sister of Robert or of Wagner or Weber, the red hair lady.
Yeah.
When she gets sucked into the wires and the computer and then becomes like this robot lady, that messed me up so bad. Like it traumatized me. It still does. When I watch that clip nowadays, it does something to me, man. Like I'm not right.
Yeah, it's pretty convincing in an uncanny way of just a machine just kind of invading a person. It's creepy.
Horrifying.
Yeah. And she turns into this cyborg monster pretty much.
Yeah. And she's really scary. Like it's really scary to me.
Yeah.
And formidable,
Yeah. So, I mean, this supercomputer, I guess, came about because Richard Pryor was able to draw schematics up for it on like cocktail napkins.
Yeah.
The restaurant placemats and things. And
whatever you could find, man. Just like whatever's laying around. The guy has been in computers for, at this point, I think 6.5 days and into the movie, and he's already doing a supercomputer.
Yeah.
Eat your heart out, Stephen Hawking, Albert Einstein. Like no one's ever figured out something like that quick.
Right. I mean, the guy is basically destined to be a supervillain, but he doesn't seem to have the heart for it.
That's exactly right. It's Pryor.
What
it's Gus.
He's just a likable con man.
Yeah. That was okay in the 80s.
Yeah. I mean, but you would think that. I mean, I don't think this exists in the Superman movies per se, but with the DC Comics universe, you think you could bring him to like the Star Labs, where Cyborg comes from and the Teen Titans and all that other stuff, and or bring him to where the Flash works and like.
Yeah,
one of these good guy science labs. Like,
absolutely, he could streamline the whole place, like in
right?
5 fucking minutes, man. That place be running tip top.
Yeah, yeah. But he just drops him off at a coal plant.
Yeah. Ooh, which is another great scene where Superman grabs a piece of coal and he squeezes that coal and a diamond pops out.
He turns it into a diamond.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Which makes me think, like, if had Superman like, read the paper and know what was going on in certain places in Africa, he could have just sat there and made diamonds at that place, and like they could stop like doing blood diamond, like, stuff.
yeah. But the
He
thing
he,
is,
he
he's
could he
too
could have
busy.
purified the diamond trade.
He could have, but it was really more important that he was saving citizens of Metropolis from
Yeah.
falling in manholes and open sewers and almost getting hit by trains and
Yeah.
slipping on banana peels. And there's a
Well,
lot going on in Metropolis.
right, like what we're learning here tonight, I think in real time, or not real time as you're listening to it, folks, but like it have had the denizens of Metropolis not been such utter dipshits,
Yeah,
Superman could solve
complete
every problem.
clods.
We'd be living in a fucking utopia right now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the Superman 4 A Quest for Peace
Don't
would
get
have
me
been
started.
an attainable goal
Yeah. Yeah, it
had
would have.
the citizens of Metropolis not been utter clods all of the
Oh
time.
man. Oh man. Oh man. It's 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 good stuff. I think for a third movie, it is pretty groovy though. I like it. Like I'm not saying like, is it a great movie? Like cinematic, is it a good piece of cinema? No, not everything has to be like fine art. But I find it like every time I watch it, I have so much fun. I love it. I think it's really funny, and I think there are some really great scenes. I think the junkyard scene is as good as any scene in any Superman movie. Like, and I'm being totally serious about that. Maybe my favorite scene of all of them, actually. Like, I think it's
Yeah.
very good. It's violent. It actually steps out of like the PG realm just simply by what he is trying to do to Clark Kent. Like, he is trying to
Right.
destroy this man. Like, it is
Yeah.
messed up, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. um, and I mean, that is part of the fun of this whole series of looking at the third movie, because
Mhm.
I'm considering it like a scientific endeavor here, to
Yeah,
figuring out what the magic juice is for the third
right.
movie. And I think that, like what you just said, is definitely part of it. It's like they can kind of cruise on the third movie a
Yeah,
lot of the time. Like
right.
it does, they're not trying to break the mold a lot of the time. They're just trying to make another one.
That's
But
exactly right. Well, if you think about it, in most instances of like third movies, right? You have the original, which obviously was made enough money to garner them doing another one.
right,
But if you look at the, like, I'm not talking about Star Wars, Raiders of the Lost Ark, or like, franchises like that. But the majority of like franchises, and there's a lot of more than people actually think. We just remember the big and successful ones. But what usually happens, the first one does well enough, has a nice box office. They're like, well, we have to at least try to make more money off this, IP. So they do a second one. The second one usually does, you know, much worse than the first one or a little bit less. Then by the time they're in the third one, it's really just they're just trying to get a cash grab. They're not. It's like so rare that the third one is even watchable. But
yeah,
I think for a mid-budget, like kind of dying franchise, they were actually able to squeeze out a pretty good film.
yeah. And they did make another one after.
Yeah,
So
The
I
Quest
mean,
for Peace,
yeah,
which do you know was Christopher Reeve's idea.
was it?
He needed money. He co-wrote the screenplay. And
Oh,
that one is virtually unwatchable. It is real bad. It's not even like fun, really. It's not. Yeah, I tried to watch it a couple times just like laugh at it, but like the laughs are too and far between. On it. It's hard.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I must have seen it at some point, and I have no memory of it.
Yeah. There's like
Maybe
a
there's a
blonde
reason for
guy
that.
who's like the nuclear man who like comes from the sun and he just growls. He goes "Grrr," like that, literally like that. Like it's crazy.
Oh, okay. All right, all right. Well, here's something I meant to mention earlier, and I'm
Hmm.
sure you know this, but do you know, like, when Christopher Reeve first took the role, he needed to bulk up a bit and build some muscle. Do you know who he trained with?
Oh,
He trained with the guy that was the on-screen Darth Vader. in the Star Wars movies.
Okay, that's good.
So that's always been crazy for me to think of, just the fact that Darth Vader was the one that bulked up Superman.
Yeah, that's who could have seen that coming?
Plot twist.
Yeah, plot twist. Whoa.
Yeah.
Not to mention, it's like you would think they would just hire like a professional trainer. Now we'll get this other actor.
Well, I think he was, though.
Oh, he was. Okay.
He was just the guy in the Vader suit on screen, so he didn't really need to be acting per se.
But yeah,
because you don't see his face and it's not his voice or anything like that. But
yeah,
he just needed to look big inside.
Right.
But
they figured he knew his way around an '80s Nautilus machine, and could bulk up Christopher. So, and it worked. I mean, he's cut. He's cut. He's looking good.
Yeah, he really is. He was a good-looking man. That
handsome man. Yeah.
And he did seem like a great guy. And sadly, he was paralyzed. Was in the 90s. He, like, fell off a horse.
I think it was. Yeah, that was brutal, man. Yeah. I want to say that. Yeah, he did live for a while, but just not.
I think he even worked. I think he did a few acting gigs while paralyzed. But yeah, sad.
God, so sad.
Yeah, and I mean, and that was always one of the spooky things was the 50s Superman was George Reeves.
Yeah.
And he died young too under weird circumstances. So.
Didn't he get murdered?
Yeah. So it was a whole sordid affair.
Right.
So
wasn't there didn't Ben Affleck play him in a movie or something? Did I dream that?
Did he? Oh. You might have dreamed it.
Yeah, I probably did. I thought there was a movie made about George Reeves' life and Ben Affleck played him, but I probably made that up.
I feel like there is a movie about George Reeves, but I have no idea who's in it. But Ben Affleck would make sense.
Yeah, I think it might be.
Yeah. I mean, he's also been Daredevil and
there's a precedent.
And Batman. So
yeah. Boston boy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So where I think you already pretty much already covered this ending question of where it fits in with the franchise in general, like where it stacks up against the others.
I mean, I'll be honest. I'll say 1, 2, and 3 are my favorites.
Right.
Yeah, I love I love 1 and 2. Like, it's my favorite superhero franchise. Like, nothing's even close to it for me. Like, I grew up with it, and it was I was a little kid, and I really loved Superman. And then as I got older, I just didn't care about comic movies. I especially don't care about any that have been done in the 21st century. They just aren't my cup of tea. I'm not saying they're bad. I largely haven't seen them. They might be great. It just isn't something I want to sit down and watch. But I just have a special affection for these. It's definitely like, a nostalgic thing for me. But Superman 3, I'm telling you, in terms of most like mid-range franchises, not the big ones, like I mentioned before, it is a good third movie, man. It really is. It's so hard to do. It's so hard to make a third movie. And I think they went bold and said, like, look, we're going to kind of go away from the typical formula of what was successful for us before and bring in a comedian with probably the biggest stand comedian ever at the time.
Yeah.
Maybe ever nowadays too. And kind of give him about as much screen time as Christopher Reeve. Like, it was a bold move. Some of it they didn't execute on everything.
It's almost a buddy comedy.
It kind of is a buddy comedy, right? And so I think they went bold, and I think it paid off in certain ways. So I am proud of this movie. I think people should watch it.
Yeah. I mean, I hadn't seen it since I was a teenager, and I'm not sad that I revisit.
Good. Good. I'd hate to hear that you weren't. That would suck. Be like, well, you wasted my time, Steve.
Well, nice movie pick, asshole.
Nice movie pick, dork. You're like one of the dipshits from Metropolis, man. You're the kind of guy who falls into manhole covers, man. Would taste like that.
Why don't you go step on a banana peel or something?
Exactly. Superman 3 is the kind of movie that Metropolians would like.
Well, okay, so what would you call a citizen from Metropolis?
I mean,
Metropolitan?
I just said
Metropolitan?
Metro, but that feels like I don't really know what you call it. That's
Metros?
metros, but that denotes something else.
Metrons?
Metrons, I like.
Yeah, we'll just call them Metrons.
I'd be willing to like try that out in some billboards for a year or two. See if it sticks.
We'll retroactively call them Metrons.
We are proud Metrons. We will not be called dipshits.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, I think to maybe venture into the more serious here. Superman does kind of typify that nostalgia, I think, for me in a lot of ways. Like, and it hits a nerve, and I think it does for a lot of people, and maybe just of a certain age,
right?
And I think people do forget. I don't know if younger people ever revisit these movies, but they were around a lot. Like when we were young, they were on TV a lot. And in regard to like the way the world is now, it's just there is kind of a meme that pops up on the internet every once in a while, and it's from an old Superman comic where he's just kind of talking to a bunch of school kids, and I think it's from the 50s or so, and he's just basically saying like, if you see any other kid getting picked on for like their nationality or their race or their gender, like you tell that bully that that's un-American, you know, that kind of talk is un-American. And it's just like makes me sad when I do see it, because it's almost like there is this vision of what America could be and what it should be, what it ought to be. And it's exemplified by Superman in a lot of ways. And if you think about Superman in the terms of him being an alien, you know, himself, not just from another country, but from another planet, and coming here and adopting truth, justice, and the American way as his modus operandi, because there was some kind of beauty to it. And like you said, the way you talked about growing up with it, and then you kind of get to a certain age where you grow out of it, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that happens with a lot of people. I don't know about you, but I was a Boy Scout.
I was for I don't think I made it to Boy Scouts, but the Cub Scout.
Yeah, so I mean, there was kind of a level of patriotism instilled in me, and then you go through kind of a dark night of the soul when you look at the truth of American history and how it doesn't measure up to those ideals a lot of the time. And then, you know, with Superman, you get into the 90s, they killed Superman in the comic books.
Yeah.
You know? And he was the man of tomorrow. And when we're talking about the old Superman, it's the golden age comics. When you use the term golden age in a literary sense, it's alluding to a time that never actually existed. It's like a mythical time where everything was great, everything was better. And so I guess seeing that kind of thing makes me nostalgic for a world that never really existed, but probably ought to exist.
Right.
All the pratfalls notwithstanding. But nobody ever gets seriously hurt, you know?
No.
And it's not a black and white world. It's not just good and evil. If anything, it's the four colors of the old comic panels. You know, it's nostalgia for something that never existed, because he was the man of tomorrow and he will be the man of tomorrow. And I kind of feel like if you can believe that a man can fly, and if you can actually bring out from within yourself the qualities that this mythical America, exemplified by this mythical character, show us, then there is some hope.
Yeah.
And we can quest for peace together.
Yeah, well, we need Superman more than ever, because that's you know, I don't even know what to say. It's
heavy stuff.
We could use like a new archetype to aspire to make ourselves better, make our community better, make the people around us better. And I don't know, right now it just, you know, it's you know, we don't have a Superman.
We don't. and I guess in a way we never really did.
No.
And but that's because I did want to bring this up at some point. There was that one. Was it a comics illustrator that claimed to have like met Superman in real life, like
Hmm,
met the real life Clark Kent or something?
I don't know. I'm not
I was
sure. I
trying to look
love
this
that
up.
though.
I was trying to look this up earlier because I've heard it mentioned, and I think it was in one of Kripal's books.
Well, I mean, there is, there's a couple instances where authors have met their characters. I believe John the Appleseed or something like that. And then, Alan Moore and Constantine.
Right? Yeah.
He met Constantine. I was just talking to Josh Cutchin about this, and he had like all these examples. I can't
Neil
remember.
Gaiman. Neil Gaiman met one of the Sandman characters, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love that stuff. 'Cause I'm very into the idea of like hyperstitions and folkloric ostension right now. And so I
Yeah.
personally think there's something to it, kind of. But
Yeah. So I mean, you think about that existing in the imaginal realm, and this kind of um, fictional characters manifesting uh, in reality, however you want to take that. Um, Things exist in the idea space so that we can pull from the idea space and manifest it in real life.
mhm,
And so, I mean, cynicism just kills that dead flat.
yeah,
And I think that's where we've been at for decades.
yep,
I think where we are now is a result of decades of apathy and cynicism, bordering on nihilism, where
yep,
you just say none of it matters. Both
yeah,
sides are bad. Like, why bother voting? Why bother doing this?
right, right.
What's the point? Like,
What's the
and
point? That I had multiple friends say those words to me today, and it broke my heart.
yeah, and I mean, it's easy to get there,
Yeah,
and
it sure is.
and I guess all I can say is don't.
Yeah,
And there's stuff to fight for, and
mhm.
we need to fight.
Brother, I'm with you, dude.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I don't want to end on a down note here
No,
necessarily, but
no, we don't
I don't
have
think
to.
that's
But yeah,
necessarily a down note. But I mean, it's
no,
just
no. But you bring up a lot of interesting points there, and I do think like if I tend to like have a lot of woo, I guess one would say woo ideas about how reality in the world works. But like I think, if we do co-create our reality a little bit, we can co-create a better one. And I think we can co-create new archetypes that can drive people towards the light, so to speak, or to help other people into to not to not to not seek inequality. I think there is this tendency for people nowadays to really say like, well, the ship's sinking, I got to get mine. It's a cash
yeah,
grab on the way down. And I don't think that's like a great attitude for either side to have, you know what I'm saying? And both sides I think are kind of guilty of that. And so I think like we need to reframe what's important in life and what makes us happy. And I do think you know, I don't know, man. Like when there's a concentration of power and concentration of wealth, that is a bad world. And I think we need to just do everything we can to move away from that and have a more fair and equal world, man. That would be really nice. I think that's what Superman
yeah,
1 and 2.
yep. And if you got nothing else, small acts of kindness is, yeah, you could do worse. You
You
could
could
do a
do
lot
worse.
worse.
I'm with you. That's something that's easy and like, hey, and as a result, it makes you feel better too. How
It
about
does. Yeah,
that? Yeah. I mean, being nice to people feels great,
it really
you
does.
know?
Yep. Yep.
So if we all are nice and we're all feeling great, I think the world might be a little better. It's
Yeah.
contagious. It's contagious, babe. Be nice.
It's a
Being
little.
nice is contagious, I swear.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Yeah, and that's why I always love talking to you because
Yeah, you too, man. You
I,
too.
I not to butter your biscuit too much, but
Oh, I love biscuits, girl.
you always make me smile. You always make me laugh, and
Thanks, man.
it's always great to talk to you.
You as well,
So,
brother.
what do you got going on? I know that you have the podcast and everything. High strangeness. That's
Yeah, yeah, I'm doing
high
that.
as in hello. High
Absolutely. Hello.
strangeness. Yeah.
How are you doing, strangeness? Let's interact and have a nice little dialogue. I'm doing that, plugging away, some good interviews lined up and Yeah, just that and a little worky work. I'm headed out to LA next week to do a little fun job with a friend. So that'll be
Something you're
good.
not allowed to talk about.
I don't know. It's like nowadays, like I have to sign an NDA for like everything I do, even like to get an audition. I don't know why everything's so secretive. So I probably technically it's a movie. It's a fun little movie about romantic comedy about pickleball. So I play like a bully kind of jerk pickleball player. So
Oh,
lately,
you're
this
a
is my
heavy?
no, I'm not a heavy. I'm working like a couple days on this. So like I'm
Okay.
in a couple scenes, hopefully steal a
Yeah.
couple laughs and then I'm out. Which
Yeah.
such as the character actor's life, my friend.
Yeah.
They bring you in for 3 to 5 days. You do your thing. Hopefully, you get a couple laughs, and then you're pounding the pavement looking for more work so you can pay your rent.
Right.
Not a glorious life as some people may think it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of fear all the time. I don't sleep much.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Here we go again.
Well, smoke them if you got them.
Smoke them if you got them is the new mantra, guys. Be nice, and if you ever love smoking, you quit. Take it up again. I'm kidding. Don't do that, but I legitimately might. Sounds
Right,
good.
yeah.
I love cigs.
Yeah.
So good. American Spirits, yellows, always my brand. Because
Yeah,
David Lynch smoked them. That's the only reason why I started.
Yeah, but he quit.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no. He said he got bit by the tobacco bug.
Yeah, yeah.
He has emphysema now, so yeah, maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah. Well, it has been great talking to you. I'm
You
glad
too,
you
man.
came on, and on a day like today, you're one of a very few that I would want to talk to.
Dude, you too, man. I have been very it feels good to talk actually. Like this has been cathartic for me. So I do appreciate you giving me 70, 75 minutes of distraction before I go down a doom scrolling, like before I go like doom scroll for like 7 hours before I go to bed and have a fitful
Okay.
sleep.
Yeah. Well, maybe don't do that.
Yeah, maybe don't. You're right. Yeah. Control yourself. I had like 7 dinners last night, AP.
Yeah.
I would eat
Well,
dinner and go, maybe I'll have another dinner.
I had my 2 burgers tonight, so
Good.
Oh, this is also coming out near Thanksgiving, so I was
Oh,
going to
fun.
ask you, what is your favorite Thanksgiving treat?
Stuffing, man. I love stuffing. I live for
Stuffing?
stuffing. Yeah. We use my great German grandmother's recipe, and it is so good. And so I make it
Oh,
every
wow.
year. Yeah, it's like like over 100 years old. So it's kind of a special treat for my mom's side of the family. So now I've kind of taken over making it, and I love it. I love it. I feel in touch with my ancestors too. It's nice.
Oh, yeah, well, that is great. Stuffing is very unexpected for me.
Really?
But yeah, no, I mean, I never hear. I guess every Thanksgiving I've ever had, the stuffing was pretty bland. So,
Yeah. Yeah, no, it can be, but this is pretty zhuzhed up. This is zhuzhed up a lot.
well, I trust you. I mean, that
Yeah.
sounds great. Yeah.
I can get you that recipe too.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah,
Yeah.
hit me with that.
I'll hook you up.
So-
We're homies.
All right. Well, I am thankful that you are my friend and you took
Man,
the
me
time to
too.
talk to me about this today. So, all right. I will talk to you soon, Steve.
Goodbye, my friend. Bye, AP. Thank you. Bye, listeners. Have a great one. Keep your head up.
Yes. Come back next time when we talk about stuff.